Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the People and Places Advisory Committee. There are no fire drills planned. If the fire alarm is activated, which is a continuous siren with a flashing red light, please leave the building immediately following the fire exit signs. First, we must elect a chairman. Do I have a nominee?
Hello, Stephanie. Yes, I'm happy to propose Councillor Bulford-Lilly. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Yes, I'm happy to second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other nominees? May we take a vote? Everyone who'd like to vote for Councillor Bulford-Lilly? Thank you. Councillor Bulford-Lilly has been elected.
Good evening, members. Thank you for that vote of confidence, and I look forward to serving as People and Places Chairman for another year. This chair is really high. Oh, okay. I'll sort that in a minute. So on to, I was going to do welcomes, but we've only got one new member this time round, Councillor Allen, and I assume he's not here this evening. So apologies for absence and substitutions.
I've not got any apologies. But...
Sorry, Councillor Alger.
Thank you. And so on to number 2 on our agenda papers, and that's the election of Vice Chairman. And I would like to propose Councillor Angela Baker. Is that seconded? Councillor White, thank you.
Yes, happy to second.
And can I have a vote on that, please? Lovely. Thank you very much. Congratulations. So on to item 3 on the agenda, that's the minutes. So that's pages 1 to 8 on your papers, and that's to agree the minutes of the meeting of the Advisory Committee held on the 5th of February 2026 as a correct record. Is everyone happy to agree those minutes? Thank you very much. So point 5 is actions from previous meeting, if there are any. So there were, which was pages 9 to 10 on the papers, and Kelly had circulated the response. Are members happy with that? Lovely. Number 6 is update from portfolio holder. So I'm going to pass over to Councillor Dybel. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations on being Chairman again on People and Places Advisory Committee. And I'll also congratulate Councillor Baker too on being your Vice Chair. I think it's fantastic that we've got the same members that we had before, plus Councillor Allen, and it's really good that we've got some continuity on this advisory committee. That's great news. Okay, so on to my portfolio holder update then. So in no particular order, our current Let's Cook session in Edenbridge finishes soon, and we've arranged a further one in New Ash Green at the Ash Village Hall, and this is currently being advertised on the Better Together platform. We're also in talks with Dunton Green Parish Council to hold a session there. And to go alongside this, our print room is putting together a recipe book of all the recipes that we've done alongside some healthy eating information. And we're going to print these and they will go into our food banks across the district. And I'm sure that that will be a very welcome addition for people who are cooking on a budget. We have held one first aid course this month, and we've got a further 2 organised for June and July. They're nearly fully booked, and you can view and book the courses again on our Better Together platform. Last week, we submitted our registration to become an age-friendly district. This is a cross-working initiative within the Health and Communities team, and so we share this good work with Councillor Cole, portfolio holder for Housing and Health. We've involved our Health and Wellbeing Partnership and all the town and parish councils. We feel that the council does a lot of great work around this already, so it would be good to showcase what we do and gain an accreditation at the same time. The Voluntary Sector Forum is going well still, and the next meeting is next week. We're going to undertake another barometer survey in the autumn, and we'll be concentrating on changes after the LGR result in July. The UK Shared Prosperity Fund and Rural England Prosperity Fund activities are drawing to a close now, and there is no further funding available, unfortunately. We knew that anyway, so quite sad. Some wonderful projects that actually took place with that funding. We're waiting for a report to be done with some feedback, so I'm sure that will come to us at some point. The West Kent Expo, which took place in March, was a successful event with over 60 exhibitors and 500 attendees. The team are currently working on plans to continue to deliver both business support and a future Expo event next year. I've been to this year's and I went to last year's Expo. Absolutely fantastic. This year's really very much built on the successes of last year. It's a really, really good day. It's quite tiring to walk round everywhere, but it's well worth it. Following the successful launch of Puzzle Line, an activity trail via the Darrant Valley Rail Line, an app has recently been launched in time for the summer to encourage families to make the most of travelling via train in the district. And a social media campaign with the Chinese tourist market is currently underway at the moment too. The new Policing Act came into legislation at the end of April, and we've asked Chief Inspector Paul Diddams to attend the next People and Places Advisory Committee meeting to give an overview of the Act and what it means for policing and for the district. We're pleased to note that there will be extra powers and tools for persistent offenders and also to protect vulnerable residents too. The Household Support Fund is now the Crisis Resilience Fund, and there is a plan for 3-year funding. At this time, we are awaiting confirmation from KCC of our funding allocation, and we will be looking to continue to provide funding to support to the 7 food banks across the district and support a number of activities, including the cooking classes, digital inclusion training, and also a boiler replacement scheme. Unfortunately, our bid to National Lottery did not get to the second stage, but we're looking to put in another bid towards the end of the year. Finally, we are excited that the Making It Happen Awards is nearly upon us. The event is on Thursday, the 18th of June, and all councillors would now have received an invite to attend. The email went out from Kelly, and we hope to see you all there. That's it from me. Thank you. I'll take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I always look forward to your updates. Do members have any questions for Councillor Dyball? No? Okay. So we're on to item 7, and that's the referral from Cabinet or the Audit Committee, if there are any. There are none. So we are on to item 8, which is the Kenwood Trust update, pages 11 to 14 in your papers. And I believe we've got John joining us from Kenwood Trust online.
Here we have.
Welcome, John.
Thank you. Yeah, so update with so the youth work that we provide in the Sevenoaks district. So it's a very changing world within substance misuse, especially with young people. So the world of sort of synthetic drugs are really prominent at the moment. So we're in synthetic drugs. So ketamine's very high on the agenda with young people, more sort of late teens to early 20s, going into their 30s with sort of the clubbing scene. And you've got synthetic substances of this drug. And it goes right across the board with all drugs being synthetic. So it's very challenging out there at the moment because these are more potent than what you would like, would be like your usual drugs that we're commonly known through growing up, what we've known about. So this world now for young people is coming a serious place around substance misuse. And we see it even through vaping, nitric oxide gases, and then spice. So most drugs, as we know the drugs, have got this sort of synthetic side to it now. So it's become very challenging when we're working on the streets with young people, and their knowledge around it is a lot more than most professionals have got around it as well. So they're coming quite clued up into this sort of world of substance misuse. So at the moment, we are our teams go out, directed by Kelly and Maxine, in areas that are prominent where young people are causing issues around substance misuse and antisocial behaviour behind that. The team will go in, sort of assess it, see if it is substance misuse issues. Then we will work for a period of time in those areas, helping the young people to move away from that area and give them education. We also go into the schools in Sevenoaks District, where we deliver a project called Think Differently. So the young people really get to know the team in and out of school. So, and especially Andy, who does a lot of in Sevenoaks, he's a very person that young people know he will be there within the areas he's in, and he's always on the mark. And one of the biggest issues we're seeing also at the moment, with the big cuts in youth services, that the lack of generic youth work out there is very evident. And we are seeing bigger gatherings of young people, not massive increase, but they are getting larger groups of where young people have got less to do because of the lack of generic youth work. So we're seeing a lot of that. And at present, in Kenwood Trust, because as you know, Kenwood Trust is a drug and alcohol rehab. And what we're doing in the rehab, again, the synthetics is getting very big within our residents. They're coming in with the synthetic use, with their addiction around it. And some of these young people, young adults, they're suffering from very severe bladder damage around these substances. And we actually really have to make lots of changes because they can't control their urine anymore. Their bladders are very weak. So we're having to change rooms to lino floors and things like that because it's become a very serious matter. And these are very young people, so they're not long into their drug use, and this is having major effects on them right now. So it's a very big concern at the moment. So our education at the moment in schools and in the communities around these substances, it's a sort of a new avenue for us really to get our heads around it, to really get the young people to understand. But the good thing from it is we have got residents from the rehab itself that are coming out and talking in schools. We'd like to take them out in outreach, but their bodies wouldn't be able to do it on an outreach session of a night time because they need access to public toilets and things like that. So if they're not around, they're struggling. But they do come into a school and they will talk to young people about their lives, how it's affected them, and it's a very powerful one. And we actually had a student that came up in the end, and it says, from whatever was going on with that, this actually led into the fear of what was happening to them because of their substance misuse. And this actually as well was leading into being groomed as well inside the drug world, really. So, and it was realising what was happening to them, they really sort of turned around. So the likes of Andy and Kim, who do the work mainly in the district, are really sort of getting young people to open their eyes to what is really going on at the moment. So it's great what we're doing in Sevenoaks. We've been there for many years with Sevenoaks, and the generations that have come through that we've helped to really educate around substance misuse. And it's an area that really takes it on board and really tries to work with it and the partners. And that's one of the sad things at the moment. So many of the partners within the youth services are sort of disappearing. So hopefully they will come back, and with funding changes for them where they can actually get back into working with young people, because it is really missed out there at the moment. So yeah, so the update with Kenwood Youth Services is still out there working in more sort of afternoons after school, late into the evenings. We go into schools, we do assemblies, we do small one-to-one groups, groups with young people that are really caught up in it to help them stay into education. So we're really sort of carrying on what we started to do, and in a way it's a successful tool what we are doing, and many young people do get learn from us and help them to make the right choice for themselves. And we're actually saying you must stop. It's actually re-explaining it to them. So, yeah, any questions on what we do with Kenwood? Yeah, I'll be open to answering any questions you have.
Thank you, John, and thank you for coming along this evening and speaking to us as members. I think education for the next generation is obviously crucial and a really important work that you're doing. Do members have any questions? Councillor Esler and then Councillor Dybel.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to say that quite a few years ago when I was chairman, I had the pleasure of coming to the Kenwood Trust and being taken all around and shown everything. How many residents have you got at the moment? How long do they usually stay with you?
So we're up to 40. We can be up to 40. At the moment, we're around about 35 residents, but we normally have 40. As I said, a big majority of those at the moment are due to synthetic drugs at the moment. So it's a very the substance misuse world at the moment is a big changing world.
And how long do they usually stay with you?
Anything from 6 weeks up to 6 months. Depends how their funding is and how much they really get involved with their treatment.
And having been there, I was very, very impressed with what you do. So thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you've solved your various building problems and leakages.
Yeah.
I remember being taken around a lot of that.
Yeah. We're getting there bit by bit.
Councillor Dybel.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, John. That was a very enlightening presentation, and I didn't realise just how serious the problem is with these youngsters. I mean, when I was growing up, alcohol was the big sort of substance that was misused. But it's really scary what you're telling us. You're talking about going into schools and running sessions in the schools for the students there, but what about just enlightening the parents more? Because I mean, I'm a parent of grown up children now, and my grandchildren are grown up. But I mean, I don't know about this. And what education is there available for parents to get their head around just how scary this synthetic drug culture is and what it's doing to their youngsters' bodies?
One of the things, I mean, Sevenoaks is very good at. We do every now and again. We try to do the parents. It's getting parents to come to these, because we always try and put something on for parents. For me, I think it's so important for parents to know. If a parent understands what is going on, same as at young people, they can actually have a good conversation, exploring it. But many parents, the parents you need there don't come to those meetings. The parents that are really up on it, they come to the meeting because they know it's something that's so important. It's just hard to get those parents who really need to be there to come to those things. And I say over the years, the Sevenoaks have been so good in trying to arrange parent education really and sessions. We do some things in schools when it used to be, I'll go back to you, but when it used to be like Wilderness and Bradbourne, I used to be able to go to when the parents used to come up for the evening to talk to the teachers, they used to have stalls and things like that to help them go through that. But that doesn't really seem to happen that much anymore. So it's very busy with their parents' evenings, imagine.
Councillor Darrington.
Roughly what age are these children that come to you, and do they make a full recovery?
So in the rehab itself, they're not children. The children's work happens in the community. So we work in the community and go to the schools. The young adults, what I was talking about earlier, they're sort of what I would say, they have to be 18 to come to Kenwood itself for the rehab. They have to be 18 plus. But we've got a lot of just over 18s in their very early 20s to come in there. So, and yeah, but the education wise, we go into schools and the communities within the Sevenoaks district. We go into those areas like where Kelly and Maxine have pointed out where there's a big issue in there, when we go in there and work in the community where the children or young people are at. And we also work within that community as well. So if it's young people getting alcohol from shops and that, we will work along with those to find out what shops they're getting the alcohol from, or vape shops and things like that. So we're very much within the community. It ain't just literally work with the young people, we work with the community as well to help them to what to say to young people when they're coming into their shops. But yeah, we don't have children in the rehab.
Do their plans make a full recovery?
Oh, so it's about 80% in recovery through rehab. So it's quite a successful rate of people going through it. And it boils down to if you really want it, you will do it. And counsellors and group workers really give every opportunity for them to grab hold of it.
Councillor Granville and then Councillor Baker.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It's really interesting. I just wanted to say thank you, and all the questions I was going to ask have been asked, I think, but I'm sure somebody else will have a follow-up. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, I just wanted to ask, the areas within Sevenoaks, do you cover the whole of Sevenoaks, or is there some areas you don't? I'm not familiar with your work in Edenbridge, and I just wondered if you do go there, or is it because there's not a secondary school, or have I just missed it?
Sometimes we go to Edenbridge, but you had the house in the base, well, not house, you've got house projects over there.
Yeah.
So it's not normally a place we go to, unless there is a sort of Kelly gets lots of reports, then she'll say, can we go over and have a look? So we have been over in times over the years. We have been there. It's same as Swanley. Swanley had where we used to have very big KCC youth workers. There we only went there to maybe support them sometimes. There was a real big drug issue, and we may support their youth workers with that. But yeah, it's normally we go where Kelly wants us to go to.
Yeah, I'm going to pass over to Kelly.
Thanks, John. I am nice to John though when I do task it. So yeah, just say it is district wide. So I've worked with John over 20 years with Kenwood Trust, and I will say I was doing the monitoring for the Police and Crime Commissioner, of which we funded John's money, and so John did his whole monitoring for the year, and I think there's around 2,000 young people that have been engaged with. So those families, it's the highest number of people engagement through all the commission services and the work within the schools as well. So yeah, we usually look at repeat locations. I mean, we've got the Vine as an extension. Well, John's team was really pivotal in the beginning with our task and finish groups. So they would go on there on the Friday night, and police would follow it up with enforcement. So he's been really pivotal in our task and finish groups, joining in with lots of agencies, and between him and Andy in the talk. So yeah, he does go everywhere that we wanted to go, in the times and stuff. So if there's pockets in Edenbridge that we look at, he also does address where people feel there is a drug issue, but there's not. It's just young people gathering together. But yeah, ketamine is a bit rife at the moment, and I think we've just got to work out how we tackle that from the young age but we're working on a conference, aren't we?
Yep.
John, we met a youth conference from our development day in December, so we are looking at ketamine and around those substances, and we're aiming that conference for young people as well. So we're just in the planning stages of that at the moment. But he does a great job, I will say that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, members? Councillor White.
Sorry if I'm jumping the gun, but I've heard of ketamine, and I understand the life-changing impacts that it can have on you. I'm not aware of a drug situation in my ward, but they go hidden as such. I've just been looking at your website whilst you've been talking, and it is obviously very interesting information that's there. Is there a little flyer or a paragraph that maybe we could put together that councillors could push social media wise, just to say to our residents in the ward that if you're experiencing this is a point of contact that might be beneficial?
Yep. I can get Christy to send something over to Kelly with that. So yeah, that's definitely, yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be lovely. Thank you, and good suggestion. Any other questions? No, I think that's it. Thank you ever so much again, John. Thanks for
No
coming
problem.
along and
Thank you so
thanks for all
much.
the work that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the recommendation to People and Places Advisory Committee is to note the report. Can I have a show of hands if everyone's happy? Thank you very much. So we are moving on to number 9 on the agenda. So that's the Sevenoaks Leisure Centre operator procurement, and that's pages 15 to 38 in your agenda papers. And I'm going to pass over to Catherine.
Thank you, Chair. So this report sets out the proposed strategy and approach for the procurement of a leisure operator for Sevenoaks Leisure Centre, subject to the decision by Cabinet regarding the Land East of High Street appointment of a development partner. The report sets out the existing leisure operator contract arrangements for the district, of which there are 2. So there's one at White Oak Leisure Centre and another that encompasses Sevenoaks Leisure Centre, Edenbridge Leisure Centre and Lullingstone Park Golf Course. The report also sets out the importance of aligning the operator procurement to the Land East of High Street programme. In doing so, it ensures that there is sufficient design information available regarding the development to enable tenderers to draw up their bids, and will ensure that should there be any planning conditions, that these can be considered by the bidders in their final tenders. Consideration has also been given to the contract term, including reviewing the contract length of other facilities to balance the need for achieving best value for the authority now, but also in the future when contracts need re-tendering. Therefore, the estimated term of the contract is proposed to be 7 years plus 5, or alternatively 12 years, to align to the existing White Oak Leisure Centre contract. Consideration has been given in terms of the contract scope and whether the operating contract should be a standalone contract, or if any of the other existing facilities should also be included. At the point of writing the report, the long-term options for Edenbridge Leisure Centre are still being considered. Therefore, Edenbridge Leisure Centre will be included as a mandatory option. This means that bidders will provide a solution that both includes and excludes Edenbridge. This will then be reviewed as part of the negotiation or at the final tender stage. In terms of Lullingstone Park Golf Course, with LGR on the horizon, it was felt that Lullingstone would not be included in this procurement. This will provide the new unitary authority the opportunity to resolve the complexities around the lease and consider a wider range of best practice approaches. Other aspects that the procurement strategy addresses is the use of a concession contract with the risk profile based on the standard Sport England form of contract and aligning it with the existing contract at White Oak, which is also a Sport England contract. It also details that a competitive flexible procedure will be used and highlights that the agency model will be fully considered to maximise financial return. This model is becoming more widely used across the industry. Our approach is to carry out a full review of this model and have it as an optional variant, whilst also ensuring that the council can choose to accept a standard model contract at any stage. The report outlines a number of alternative options that were considered and rejected. These include bringing the operation in-house and closing the centre. The cost to deliver this procurement will be met from existing budgets. However, as mentioned earlier, the project team have also considered both maximising financial return now alongside minimising future costs by seeking to align the contract to the existing White Oak. The report also notes and highlights possible implications both financially and from a legal perspective, some of the proposals that will be considered as part of the Land East of High Street appointment. To conclude, this report sets out the need for the leisure operator to be in place to support the development partner for the Land East of High Street project, subject to Cabinet's decision, and provides a detailed procurement strategy to enable us to take this forward. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Catherine. I would assume that there are a few questions. So I'm going to go to Councillor Strepfield and then Councillor Granville.
So I put forward a few questions ahead of time to give an opportunity for answers to be prepared. And they, for those people who wouldn't have had the benefit of that, were just along the lines of could we see the variance with the other providers in Tunbridge Wells, Tunbridge and Maidstone to know where our alignment either is how far away our alignment is from those other leisure facilities. On the risk assessment, there's no mention of the risk gap in leisure provision that is in the public papers for the Land East at High Street currently, and this must be a risk to the procurement of the leisure provider at this stage. But it's not mentioned in the risk assessment, and the risk assessment isn't scored for likelihood or impact, and the mitigation measures are not categorised in a way to be able to inform members of the likely success of the measures to remove, reduce or otherwise control the risk at this stage. They're just there as mitigations. And so could the committee also see the breakdown of the legal and consultancy costs, which are 99,000 that are being met from within budgets, but we haven't kind of having agreed a budget and suddenly we've got a procurement cost. I'd like to know a bit more about how that's able to be met within those budgets. As I said in the emails, I'm content to have the answers verbally now or in writing if they're not available in writing with the minutes of this meeting. Thank you.
Ellie?
Yep, so apologies, Councillor Stretfield, you may not have seen your email that has been sent to you before the meeting. Apologies, I was locked out of my computer for 2 hours today in response, but you have received a response of all those questions and further PSPO. So again, we can send those out with the minutes.
Yeah, I think it would be useful to have those just because for the purposes of the public meeting, it would be useful to have those responses not just sent to me, but to everybody and to be delivered so that the public can be reassured about what's going on.
Well, we as mentioned, we can put all the questions and answers in all the minutes, so it'll go out to this committee and to the public.
That'd be lovely if they can be circulated. Thank you. Councillor Granville.
Thank you very much. Much simpler question. The agency model. What's the agency model? I don't know what that is. I might be the only one.
Thank you. So the agency model is detailed in the report. If you just bear with me, I will find the right page with it.
Right, I can't open my report.
So it is. Okay, so in an agency model, the council is the principal from a VAT perspective. And so income collected by its agent, the operator, in relation to sports activities is treated as non-business income. Thereby, VAT on related expenditure is recoverable. This improves the overall financial position to the council. It's a new model being introduced in the market. The project team will explore this further, as I've mentioned, and will fully review all the risks and benefits. We will also seek both expert legal and VAT advice regarding this. But as I mentioned earlier, the procurement process is designed so that the council can choose to accept a standard model of contract at any stage. So what you will find is across the country, numerous leisure contracts are following the agency model now. So whereas when we've looked at this previously, when we came to you all back in 2024, it was fairly new and it hadn't really been tested in the market. We've now got a good couple of years worth of testing in the market for us to base our decisions on as well.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Councillor Dybel.
Thank you, Chair. Catherine, I did bring up a couple of queries in my portfolio holder briefing yesterday with regards to the procurement strategy. So are they being attended to, those queries? Will the strategy be amended or not? Thank you.
So yes, thank you for bringing to our attention a couple of typos that we will definitely amend before it goes forward. And also, I know you raised a question around the section in the introduction, which is 1.5, I believe. So just wanted to clarify that actually, the options there. That table refers to what was decided previously. In that step 1 was to procure a 5-year contract, which runs until June 2030, which is the position we're currently, that's the contract we're in. And then we had the view that further down the line, i.e. where we are now, we would then procure another contract for around the 7 years plus 5. So that's almost like a historical snapshot, but I appreciate that actually the way that's written might be a bit confusing. So I will address that and tidy that up so it's a bit clearer if that's right, or at least I'll ask Max Associates to do it as it's their strategy. Thank you.
I think that would be really useful. Actually, it just looked, it didn't read, just sort of, it didn't flow for me. Thank you.
Lovely. No other questions? Councillor Stretfield.
Just very quickly flicking through the email, Kelly, and whilst I understand that the costs are broken, for example, this is just one example, costs are broken down between leisure consultancy costs £40,000 and legal costs 59,000. What I was after was a greater level of granularity over how that almost £100,000 has been able to be magicked out of the budget from within budget lines, and what it's actually going to buy us in terms of, because it's very unclear to me what that £100,000 is going to actually be spent on. I mean, I know in broad terms, lawyers and consultants, but not the. I think we need to have a bit more detail, and certainly on the risk side, an understanding of the level of impact and the likelihood of it, and what the mitigations are need to be outlined in much more detail for members to have confidence that the procurement is going to stand up in relation to the other stuff that's going on across the council. I'm deeply concerned that the risk analysis is not sufficiently detailed.
If you can reply, I've taken some notes, but if you want to reply to me, Mel, then Catherine and I will look into it and get back to you and include that in the minutes.
I had a question, and maybe I'm being silly. Is there, obviously I read it in the papers about potentially having to close the current leisure centre to free up land before the new one can be built, and there was a time frame of about a year in between. Is there an option not to close it? And yeah, I just wondered if you could tell me a bit more about that.
Oh, sorry, couldn't get the mic on then. Actually, that decision is being made through the Land East of High Street Development Partner Agreement report. So whilst so I can't answer those questions, it would be that team that are developing it. With regards to this report, it will be how we respond to that. So once that decision is made, which obviously is one of the proposals through Cabinet, we will then be able to respond to that with the procurement. So it's been a bit of a tricky one with this procurement, because obviously we're writing a strategy when actually Cabinet haven't decided on a lot of the things, and they will be going to Cabinet at the same time. So you will find that there are bits and pieces in terms of things like the risk assessments that will need to be addressed once those decisions have been made. But yes, it is something that needs to be considered.
That's really helpful. Thank you. Councillor Stretfield.
Thank you for your indulgence, Chair. Last one, and a relatively small one. Given that we have procurement strategy going on for Land East of High Street in one committee, procurement for leisure facilities going on in another, and the Edenbridge Leisure Centre development being taken, decisions being taken in a third committee, all of which aren't only come together at Cabinet, how is it possible for members, and I think it would be useful for members to see across the board how these things are going to integrate together to make sure that we do have the proper leisure facilities across the whole district, and that they are going to be taken into account with the wider development that's going on in Sevenoaks? Because at the moment we've got a very disparate process feeding into Cabinet with lots of concerns, but without seemingly any cross committee work going on.
Yeah, so I think the common theme is that they will relate to leisure is probably what you're getting at. So tonight is just around procurement strategy for a leisure operator. That's purely it. That's what we're looking at, which is within the remit of this advisory committee, and it's just to give approval. If through the decision that's made on Land Easter High Street in June, we don't go ahead with the development agreement, obviously then this piece of work doesn't go ahead, but through this committee before, we do have an existing contract in for White Oak Leisure Centre, and then we've got the 5-year +2 for Edenbridge, Lullingstone and Sevenoaks, so that will just remain as is. I think for the Edenbridge proposal that's going through IAC, it's a development project, which is just an approval in terms of some improvements to that offer. So we're putting it through sort of the development agenda. It won't make any changes to the lease that we have with Everyone Active or this procurement. It literally is just around agreeing almost an improvement development programme, which does sit within that advisory committee. I think the other one, which obviously is Sevenoaks Leisure Centre, you will hear more about that through this committee, because if we do get the development agreement approved in June, we're going through the procurement here. So a bit like we would around performance and the leisure contract, it will come back here. So it might seem quite disjointed, but I think just in terms of what is being presented to each of those advisory committees and what their remit is, we're just making sure that we're speaking to the portfolio holders and making sure that they're going to the right committee. So that's probably not the answer you want to hear either. But
Okay, thank you, Sarah. If there's no further questions, I'm going to move to the recommendation. So the recommendation to People and Places Advisory Committee is to note the report and support recommendations A and B below being presented to Cabinet. Unless anybody wants me to read them, I don't intend to read the recommendations to Cabinet. Are members happy? Can I have a show of hands, please? Any against? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. So the next one that we are moving on to is item 10 on the agenda. So that's the PSPO Public Spaces Protection Order consultation results, Ainsford Riverside, and that's pages 39 to 54. And I do know that there is a correction in the paper where it refers to the Vine, so that will obviously be corrected. Ellie.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Councillor Stretfield for pointing that out. It's very unusual that we're doing 3 PSPOs in one night, which are all 3 sort of hefty documents and processes. So appreciate, no matter how many times myself and a colleague read it, we did miss that section. So apologies on that. So this is stage 2, and I'll be saying that a lot because that'll be the same for the next one. So this is stage 2 of the Public Spaces Protection Order. So this is for Riverside, Ainsford. You might remember we came through the process at the beginning of the year in February, and Cabinet agreed on the 12th of February to do a 6-week consultation process, which went out because of timeframes, I think the day after Cabinet. So we was on it, and thank you to the parish councils that supported this and pushed this through their local community and the local district councillors as well. So for Ainsford, we had 291 respondents to that, of which 238 were residents. So obviously a really big margin. I should say as well that throughout this whole process, we continue to have our task and finish groups with partner agencies, just to make sure that we are still doing everything that we can to take forward action. So that included me issuing fixed penalty notices on the ice cream van that was parking on the double yellow lines. So yeah, there still is a lot of ongoing activity around that. So we had, out of the 3 proposed actions, they were to support engaging antisocial behaviour, which is likely to cause harassment, alarm and distress to those persons in the locality, not to return to the area within 24 hours after being asked to leave, and no obstruction on the highway and forward, including all vehicles and carriages. And out of the 291 responses we had 96.22% supporting each of those 3 actions. Really positive. Again, through the consultation at the back, you can see that 201 people thought it was a big problem as well. So it's really been quite a really positive response into Ainsford, and I think especially the idea is that if approved, it'll be implemented over the summer period, where we do see a rise in antisocial behaviour. Parish Council took the decision to remove the alcohol off of that, so we took that back off because of similar to the Vine, they host events and stuff, and we totally understand that. But we'll look at other measures around licensing to address those as well. Actually, Steph, I should have asked you to show them up. Sorry. After all the effort of sending them to you, thank you, Councillor White, and then not to show them. So this is the one for the Ainsford one, please. Perfect. So hopefully you can see that on the screen. There's been no change since the original meeting we had back in February. And again, the majority of this supported the area. Again, we probably get more no's on this area, but that's because most people would like to incorporate the whole of Ainsford and side roads and sub roads. But this is deemed really where the most issues were caused. Again, we contacted the club as well and got their permission from the residents. So the majority is happy with this proposed area. So again, next steps are, as I say, we go to Cabinet, and the recommendation is to help support that. Majority we've got from the public consultation is that they are in support of this, are in support of the 3 issues that we've got. On the comments that we got, we did have a number around catapults. But what we are in the process of doing is looking at that. We've had a member inquiry about that, and I'm waiting on results from Kent Police of the past year, because I think there is a presumption sometimes of ball bearings and actual facts of reporting. So we're just going to make sure that we're looking at that. So we've taken that forward, but it'll be as a separate issue. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Kelly. Are there any questions? Councillor Darrington and then Councillor Dybel.
Very impressive paper, but there's no mention of e-bikes. There's got to be a problem around there, I thought.
Not that we've had reported to us at Ainsford, no. Yeah.
So you got the foul, or is there any control of alcohol coming from outside the pub?
Yeah, so that's where I mentioned our licensing team and the police licensing team, because we did want a restriction with alcohol on the riverside, but that wasn't supported. And again, it's not our land. So we are looking at extra measures around the plough and the issues that they may have unforeseenly happened. I don't think they've ever intentionally wanted to support it. So yeah, we're working that. And as I say, we've still got the task and finish group, so we can look at that as well.
Thank you. Councillor Dybel.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Kelly. to you and the team for all the work that has gone into this consultation. I know it's a very, very lengthy process. And as you've said, it was a very positive response from Ainsford residents and people associated with Ainsford. I'm very much in favour, on looking at the map, I'm very much in favour of that concentrated area. I think you're absolutely right. You know, that can be policed, if you like. I think when you start to increase that area, there is a problem. You almost dilute that PSPO. So I think that's absolutely crucial. I really hope we can get something in place for the start of the silly season that happens on the Riverside in the summer. I'm sure that many Ainsford residents who've complained for years about the issues that have gone on there will be very pleased to see that in place later on this year. Thank you.
If there's no other questions for Kelly, we'll move to the recommendation. So the recommendation to People and Places Advisory Committee is little a, to note the contents of the report and the outcome of the public consultation. B, to support the recommendation to Cabinet for the implementation of a Public Spaces Protection Order, PSPO, and its measures at Riverside Ainsford as shown in map area for a period of up to 3 years. Can I have a show of hands if everyone's happy to agree that? Thank you very much. That's carried. Sorry. So moving on to the next one. So that is the PSPO Public Spaces Protection Order consultation results for Franks Bridge / Lane and Westminster Field. That's pages 55 to 82 in your paper. And I'm going to hand back over to Kelly.
I might do want to go on then. Thank you. And the lovely Steffi, you're going to put up Westminster Fields and Horton Kirby for me, aren't you? Thank you. So again, very similar. This is stage 2 of the process. So again, we brought this to committee in February. It was agreed to go out for consultation and at the end, midway through, and we did a 6-week consultation again around that. And again, thanks to Horton Kirby and South Darrenth Parish Council for supporting this and pushing out. And I think Councillor White was on a very good mission with talking and engaging with residents around this. So thank you to them. Similarly, again, we have had a task and finish group still set up about this. Sometimes it was only just myself and Councillor White at the task and finish group. However, that's good for us because we can put actions forward. So yeah, that's continued, especially around the signage. One thing I did want to say actually for both of these, we are in the process of designing the signs, so they are ready, and we have to get permission from KCC as well to put any signage up on any lampposts. So Ainsford has a mixture of their own and KCC, and we have a 6-week period. So we are looking to get those permissions now so that we are ready. And this is all learning curves from previous PSPO. So that's also in the background as well. Again, we had for this one, we had 131 responses to this, of which 117 were residents. Again, for the there's quite a few more because this is around motor nuisance, and quite a wider, bigger area. And apologies about the map. This is the best that we could get it because it goes quite a far way up, all the way up to the top there, and then Westminster Field. So it's been quite an awkward one to try and get on that map actually. But as I say, so 98.47 people agreed to all the implications on that one, and they are failing to comply with the direction not to consume in breach of this order alcohol or anything with an authorised person reasonably believed to be alcohol, and engaged in antisocial behaviour. Engaged in antisocial behaviour is likely to cause less harassment, alarm and distress to those in persons in the locality. not to return within 24 hours, no obstructions on the highway and Franks Lane Bridge, Horton Kirby, including all vehicle carriages, causing danger to other road users, including pedestrians, causing damage or risk of damage to property, exceeding the permitted speed limit or racing, performing stunts, including but not limited to performing donuts, skidding, handbrake turns, and wheel spinning, being verbally abusive, swearing, or intimidating members of the public. It'll be interesting to see what that sign is that the design team come up with for the signage. So that'll be quite a good one. Causing obstruction of a public highway or publicly accessible place, whether by a moving or stationary vehicle or otherwise, and vehicles not on public greens and recreation grounds. Again, this one, due to the wide area and being more rural, I think, than Ainsford, we have had a discussion and looking at how we do, because we're probably not be able to put as much signage because there's just not those sort of lampposts or things available. So I think we're going to look at how creative we can be around advertising this so that people are aware, potentially if it's agreed, of what will be in that area. Slide it to paper. Again, so yeah, so 113 responded to that. They were happy with this area for the proposed site. We had 18 say no, and I would say more than half of them wanted to include quite a well-known site that I visit regularly as part of that, and we can't do that because it's private property. But obviously, I think people are aware of the area that we work on, and we are doing lots around that separately. So, yeah, they were the main areas that people wanted to see included. A couple of all of Horton Kirby. We had one comment to say, could we include Dartford? So I did have to point out that wasn't my area, but I gave them a contact for Dartford, so if they want to take that forward. So yeah, again, really positive of both PSPOs, and again for this one to try and deter some of the antisocial behaviour that's happening. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Kelly. Councillor White.
Thank you, Chair. Kelly, I just wanted to repeat Councillor Dyble's comments. You've been incredibly helpful in the complex points of this particular PSPO. We're obviously not as visual as Ainsford is for passing traffic. It's more central and visual for everybody. And I think the map shows that much of this is behind the village in the recreational areas where people are walking their dogs, having their picnics, walking along by the river. And what may not be identifiable by that map is that the river, the river flows behind people's or through people's gardens. And that's whether we've had quite a few disturbances and incidents. And even this afternoon, just coming over here, Councillor Dyble was mentioning silly season when it all kicks off, and it looks like it kicked off this afternoon with inappropriate behaviour. So this is really urgently needed. I realise that the respondents are less in numbers, but I think their points are just as strong, just as equal. So thank you for your time and support on this.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think your population obviously in Horton Kirby is lower than Ainsford, isn't it? So that reflects in the numbers, but I think it would be nice for all residents to be able to utilise those spaces safely going forwards. And I noted that a lot of the comments or replies that we'd had were elderly residents. And so, yeah, it would be nice for them to be able to feel safe and use those spaces again. Councillor Dyble.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And again, I will publicly thank Kelly and the team for all the work they've done on this one. And also my congratulations to Councillor White on the fact that he has pushed and pushed and pushed to get something done here. You know, the fact that it's a rural area, it does actually hide some of the issues from that public gaze, if you like. But those issues are huge and they have absolutely blighted the local community. So, you know, to have got that number of respondents in the consultation, I think is excellent. And that's down to Councillor White's good work there, getting out there. The residents know that he's fighting their corner for them. When we've heard about some of the antisocial behaviour that's gone on there, I mean, it being sort of up in the river, going through people's gardens, and you know, it just beggars belief, quite frankly, that this has gone on and hidden from public view. The public aren't seeing this because it's in private gardens on the river, much of that antisocial behaviour. So again, let's hope that we get the green light to go ahead with this one and get it into place as soon as possible. Thank you. And Kelly, I really hope that you get some buy-in from local landowners to get notices up if we can, if that's the only way that we can get it done. There aren't any lampposts around there. I did have a look earlier today. I did, and yeah, with Councillor White, and there's very few places you could actually put notices. So I think it is going to be that's going to be a bit of a task, really.
I'm happy to write to any landowner to say if we can have permission for and the stuff. And I think Alan's possibly kind of agree. We're going to do quite a big one on the Westminster Fields Pavilion. So I think if there are some, and I know that you know some of them, I'm happy to write to them and say, show size and design to say could they have them on. And once we've got that permission and it's stored, that should be fine.
Lovely. I'm sure Councillor White can point you in the direction of a few people that would be more than happy to help on that. Okay. So if there's no more questions, the recommendation to People and Places Advisory Committee is to A, note the contents of the report and the outcome of the public consultation, and B, to support the recommendation to Cabinet for the implementation of a Public Spaces Protection Order, PSPO, and its measures at Westminster Field and Franks Lane as shown in map area for a period of up to 3 years. All those in agreement can have a show of hands. Lovely. Councillor Esler? Okay. Are you for that?
Apologise. My husband's just had an operation. I'm getting up every 2 hours all night because his foot has to be elevated and it keeps coming off.
I know.
So I'm going in every 2 hours and moving him, and I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
I am absolutely engaged and I have read all the papers, and apologies.
No, that's fine. No worries at all. Okay, so we will move on to question item 12. So that's the PSPO Public Spaces Protection Order at the Vine, Sevenoaks, and that's the 3-year review. That's pages 83 to 94 in your papers, and I'm going to hand over to Kelly again.
Thank you, Chair. Probably all sick of PSPOs by now. So this is to do with the first PSPO that we ever put in, and oh, thank you, Steph. Appreciate that. So we put this in place in December 2023. I admit, I thought, oh, we just go and say we'd like to extend it, and it's like, yeah, but no, it's not. It's a full on, and if we don't do it in the time frame, we have to start from the very beginning again. So yeah, so this is the first one we put back in December 2023. So it's due for renewal in 2026 December for extension. So we wanted to get the ball rolling of this. As part of that process, we have to do another consultation around it. Not a full scale one as we did before, but just really to get people's perceptions if they want to keep it. So this is a town owned by the Town Council land. On page 87 of your report, you can see that what we've had back from Kent Police over the time. And if you look in the calendar year 2023, so when this was largely implemented, we had 9. In 2024, we had 2. One of those was a fireworks, and one of those was a motor vehicle nuisance or road including noise. So it actually wasn't on the Vine, it was on the road to the side of it. And again, we had drunken rowdy behaviour in 2025, and that was one individual just walking home from, wasn't actually at the Vine, but walking on his way home through probably quite a nice night out that he thought. So yeah, so that's the only one that we've had. So it has really improved. I've issued no fixed penalty notices. There's been no warning letters to young people. I know that they have moved to some other areas, and we have dealt with that. And I know we have got an issue, which we have had a meeting today around the leisure centre / town centre car park. Again, but they are not the same individuals that we had 3 years ago. But again, we know that cycle changes and stuff have been there. It went to the town Sevenoaks Town Council on the 23rd of March. And Sevenoaks Town Council has agreed at their meeting last night that they would support the continuation of the PSPO at the Vine. They also consulted with their young councillors, around 80, which I thought was an incredible actually number. They again asked what their thoughts were renewing. They informed that that many of the youth councillors were in favour of the renewal of the protection order. The youth council also thought that there should be posters on the Vine about littering and smashing bottles, but their recommendation was to renew of the PSPO. And on that about the posters, I have gone back to them to say, do they want to make it part of a little competition? Like, do they want to design them? You know, not to slack off what I'm doing, but you know, if they want to get involved with the Vine, do they want to make those decisions and design them themselves? So that's gone back. There were other questions raised about nearby areas, but I've passed that on to police because that was around more statistics, which I didn't have the answer. So restrictions are to stay the same. And again, they've only got 2 restrictions around antisocial behaviour, and the area is to stay the same. I've done a list of questions at the back. There's around 7. I think the town council have asked for one more, and they've asked for the map, but the map does go on automatically as part of the consultation. And the only recommendation is that they ask that it goes out to all schools in the area, which we will do as well. So it's a bit more of a, we will be listing the orders and the sort of the 2 sort of around antisocial behaviour and not return within 24 hours. We'll add that in to our consultation. But it's quite a simple one. I've looked at other areas across Kent. They've done extensions, and again, it's just a simplified version because you're just asking if you want to keep it. So yeah, that's where we are. If agreeable here and agreeable by cabinet, the consultation will go out the very next day. So again, we can get it in the time frame ready for December.
That's lovely. Thanks, Kelly. And I think it's lovely that you've asked the question of the Youth Council and got their opinion. And I think it's a good suggestion to get them involved further with the posters. So do members have any questions? Councillor Granville and then Councillor Dybel.
I just wanted to say thank you, Chair. I just want to say thank you, Kelly, for that report. And of course, we're very proud of our Youth Council and amazed at how many children, how many young people we have on it. And it's really good to have their opinion on this. I think when it came up 3 years ago, was it 2.5 years, 3 years ago, I myself was very unsure about what the outcome would be, and I was afraid of it becoming a prohibited area in some way. But these PSPOs seem to work incredibly well. It's people understand in advance it's not an area to spoil for other people, and I'm very supportive of this. Thank you very much.
Councillor Dybel.
Yes, thank you. Kelly, I've got one question actually. The fact that Sevenoaks Town Council have asked for this to go out to all schools, and the youth councillors have been involved too. Can we extend question 1? Are you responding as, and add a student on that list? Because they may not necessarily be a resident, but they may be a student within one of the schools there. I think that would actually be quite useful. Thank you.
Yes, of course. And I think actually Maxine goes to the youth council meetings, and she did take this consultation. And I think I have got those suggestions, but they came after the report was submitted. And again, we did miss that, so that will be added. Thank you.
Any other questions? No, in which case the recommendation to People and Places Advisory Committee is little a, to note the contents of the report and the process for extending Public Spaces Protection Order PSPO. B, to support the recommendation to Cabinet to authorise a 4-week consultation with members of the public and partners on extending the PSPO at the Vine, Sevenoaks. All those in favour? Thank you very much. That's carried. So we are moving on to item 13 on your agenda papers, and that is the member working group report twinning, and that's pages 95 to 96. And I believe we've got Councillor Hallwood online.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, and congratulations on your re-election. So we're bringing this report. So if members remember, we had a full council motion last year to agree to twin with a Ukrainian community. And from that full council motion, that was then passed to the People and Places Advisory Committee, where it was recommended that a working group be set up. And as part of that working group, there were terms of reference, which was agreed, which is in the report in the supplementary agenda. We set up the working group, and the working group was made up of Michelle Arger, Leslie Dybor, Victoria Granville, myself, Shani Manon-Perry, and David Skinner. And we've had a number of meetings to look at how to progress this. And one of the first discussions we had was which Ukrainian community to twin with, and myself and Tim Williams, who's from Sevenoaks Welcomes Refugee. Tim was co-opted at the first meeting onto the working group as well. We both went to our respective contacts in the Ukrainian community through the Sevenoaks Welcomes Refugees. Myself, I run a WhatsApp group for the Ukrainian community in the north of the district. And we tested with them about the whether they were happy to twin with, for example, Fastive, or if they had any other recommendations of communities that they suggested. And they were all, no one came back with an alternative community. And I think we're happy with the suggestion with Fastive, particularly as there was already a relationship with Swanley and Swanley Town Council when they twinned with it back in 2023. So from that agreement that Fastive be the location to twin with, we obviously explored. I had an informal discussion with the Fastive mayor to confirm that they were in principle happy to be twinned with, which I would be surprised if they said they weren't. And of course, they were utterly delighted to hear the expressive solidarity to want to twin with them. And from that, it was discussed that the next steps for that would be probably arranging an extraordinary meeting of our full council at Sevenoaks District Council to formally sign a twinning agreement. And we discussed the aims of the twinning agreement. We wanted to keep it relatively light, considering, as we all know, unfortunately, Sevenoaks District Council is likely to be scrapped as part of local government reorganisation and merged into a new unitary authority. So we wanted to make sure that the aims were relatively light, but certainly achievable. So we highlighted that we wanted the aims to be, first of all, to support Fastive with humanitarian aid, and to look at ways in which we can do that. The second was to investigate and explore ways in which Sevenoaks District residents can benefit from cultural exchange with Fastive. So, for example, in Swanley, our secondary school, Orchards Academy, already has a sort of pen pal scheme, and where our sort of school council meets with one of the schools in Fastive and has a discussion around exchange of culture, language, experiences, how they run, for example, their school council. The mayor of Fastive has many other schools in the Fastive area, so he would certainly be happy to expand that within Sevenoaks District, and indeed, actually, the feedback from Orchards Academy in Swanley and the feedback from the pupils has been really positive, with actually some very interesting and powerful stories of how friendships and exchange of ideas, ways of working, and interests have actually really benefited both Swanley and Fastive students. We also recommended that actually the working group continue. So the working group will continue as part of the twinning arrangement. So obviously we have to get the twinning agreement agreed at an extraordinary meeting of the council. But then there's obviously the other work continuing the aim. So the working group essentially would continue, but we would obviously report back presumably to PPAC and also to full council on an annual basis. And finally, we talked about governance structures because certainly from the fundraising element of it, obviously you need to have an umbrella organisation that is set up, constituted, and able to do that. And Swanley and District Twinning Organisation has agreed to support with that. They have already leapt into action and done an amazing fundraiser. Councillor Hudson sort of organised their fundraiser for the festive community. I think it was last month, or it might have been this month, where she raised already several £100. So they've put that in the bank account, and the treasurer is indeed very happy to use the bank account and to separate payments or any contributions to fundraising for that purposes. So it allows us, without having to go through the whole bureaucratic process of having to set up an organisation bank account. The District Twinning Organisation has agreed to be that, and then obviously the working group will work under those confines. I've stopped talking there. If there are any questions or comments.
Thank you, Councillor Hallwood, and thank you to the rest of the members of the working group for their hard work as well. Do members have any questions? Councillor White.
I just had a comment really. I think that the initiatives that Councillor Hallwood is referring to, the greater integration that we'll have between our two countries can only be beneficial for those in understanding the needs that people are in. Maybe it'll boost our score at Eurovision, but we'll see for that one.
Wishful thinking, I think, on that one.
Chairman, if I could just interject there, obviously it was the Ukrainian people who donated one generous point to our recent and was the only any country actually in Europe that actually voted for us in the recent Eurovision Song Contest. So we may get 2 points at least next year from.
We can keep our fingers crossed. Okay, Councillor Dybel.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank Councillor Hallwood for his excellent chairmanship and pushing this forward. He is absolutely passionate about the Ukrainian community and making sure that, that the whole issue of Ukraine stays very high on the agenda. And I think that this actually will keep the Ukrainian issues in the public eye, and I'm very positive and very, very confident that we'll keep this going way past Sevenoaks District Council being no more and into the future. I feel absolutely sure that we've got that infrastructure there with the Swanley twinning already, and yeah, we'll push forward with this one. Exciting times. Thank you.
Indeed. I don't think there's any further questions. So thank you, Councillor Hallwood, for coming along and chatting to us this evening. Much appreciated.
Can I just conclude, just really to thank, as Councillor Dybel says, a huge thank you to the members of the working group for, for inputting in the meeting, and especially to Councillor Manon Perry, who obviously was the original motion mover at full council for leading us to where we are now.
Thank you. So the recommendation to People and Places Advisory Committee is to note the report. Can I have a show of hands, please? Thank you very much. And so we're moving on to the last item on our agenda. So that is 14, and that's the work plan. Obviously, I know that we mentioned earlier that we're going to add the police in, but I'll hand over to Kelly to add anything else.
So for the 10th of September, we are looking at the UK shared can't even say the word, report. So as Councillor Dybel mentioned in her members update, that's come to a close. So there'll be a full report on that one. The economic development strategy. Chief Inspector Paul Diddams. I've added 2 more from when we spoke yesterday because I've just realised we'll have to have the Vine consultation reports, mainly because as explained, it runs out in December, and I think it's like the 14th or the 20th, but with these dates, we'd rather have it in September. And so that's it for September. For December, we are going to ask Citizens Advice to come along and do an update. And we met with them today as well. And I just need to double check, but potentially we'll have to put the PSPO for Hewitt's for 3-year renewal in December. I just need to check whether I need to bring it September or December. I'm hoping December, otherwise we could be in the same boat of a PSPO night again, couldn't we? And then, so that's what we've got so far for December. And on the 2nd of March, as usual, we're bring through the Community Safety Strategy and Action Plan 2027 to 2028. Yes, that's what we've got, but we'll add to those as we go on. But September, that's quite full, really.
Lovely, thank you very much. Councillor Esler.
Thank you. Kelly, can I request which CAB? Are you asking both of them to give an update or just one? We
Always
have two
both.
that cover us.
Always both.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And in which case, that brings us to a close. So I'm just going to repeat my thanks again for your vote of confidence in me this evening. And I close the meeting at 8:22.